I saw a child in my bathroom mirror this morning, but when I turned around, no one was there. My name is Thomas Reed. I'm 41 years old. I live alone in a one-bedroom apartment on the third floor of an old building in Newark, New Jersey. The apartment is small, maybe 600 square feet. Kitchen, bathroom, bedroom, living area, all crammed together in a space that feels even smaller than it is. I've lived here for 8 years, since the separation, since everything fell apart, and I needed somewhere cheap and anonymous and far enough away from the life I used to have. I work in accounting, remote position, data entry mostly, numbers on spreadsheets, invoices, receipts, simple, repetitive work that doesn't require much thought. I wake up around 7 most mornings, make instant coffee, sit at the small desk in the corner of my bedroom, work until noon, take a break, work until 5, eat something from a can or a box, watch television until I'm tired enough to sleep. Then I do it again. Every day, the same routine, the same pattern, the same emptiness. I don't have friends, not anymore. I had colleagues once, people I worked with in an office before everything went remote. We'd talk by the coffee machine, make small talk about weather and sports and weekend plans. But that was years ago. Now I have emails and video calls and polite professional distance. No one asks personal questions. No one invites me anywhere. And I prefer it that way. People complicate things. People ask questions. People want to know about your past and your family and why you live alone and why you never mention anyone or anything from before. So the apartment has 2 mirrors, one in the bathroom above the sink, one full-length mirror on the back of the bedroom door. I don't look at myself much. I shave in the morning without really paying attention, brush my teeth while staring at the faucet, get dressed with my eyes on the floor. Mirrors make me uncomfortable. Always have, even before, even when things were normal. There's something unsettling about seeing yourself. Really seeing yourself. The way your face looks when you're not performing, when you're not aware of being watched. The blankness, the absence, the proof that you're just meat and bone, and electrical impulses pretending to be a person. It started 3 weeks ago, a Tuesday morning. I was brushing my teeth, staring at the sink like I always do. But something made me look up, some instinct, some feeling of being watched. And when I looked into the mirror, I saw movement. Behind me, in the reflection, small, brief, like a shape passing through the doorway. I spun around. The bathroom doorway was empty. The hallway beyond was dark and still. Nothing moved. Nothing was there. I told myself it was fatigue, a trick of the light. The morning sun coming through the window at a strange angle, creating shadows, creating illusions. I finished brushing my teeth, went to work, forgot about it. But the next morning it happened again, same time, same place. I was washing my face, eyes closed, water running, and when I opened my eyes and looked up, there was something in the mirror. Behind me, in the reflection of the hallway, a figure, small, child-sized, standing just outside the bathroom door, watching. I turned around so fast I slipped on the wet tile, caught myself on the sink, looked at the hallway. Nothing. No one. Empty space. I walked out into the hallway, checked the bedroom, the living area, the kitchen. The apartment was silent, still, exactly as it should be. I was alone, completely alone, like always. I went back to the bathroom, stood in the same spot, looked in the mirror. The reflection showed exactly what should be there. Me, the sink, the towel rack, the empty hallway behind me. Normal, ordinary, real. I was seeing things. Stress, too much screen time, not enough sleep. My eyes were playing tricks. That's all. Nothing more. But I couldn't shake the feeling, the sense that someone had been there, watching me from the hallway, from a place I couldn't see when I looked directly but could only see in reflection. It didn't make sense. It violated basic physics, basic reality. Reflections show what's there. They don't create things, don't invent figures, don't manufacture watchers. I tried to forget about it, went through my day, worked, ate, watched television. But I found myself avoiding the bathroom, using it only when necessary, keeping my eyes down, not looking at the mirror, not giving whatever I'd seen a chance to appear again. Because if I didn't look, it couldn't be there. If I didn't acknowledge it, it would go away. That lasted 2 days. By Thursday, I'd almost convinced myself I'd imagined the whole thing, hallucinated it, made it up. My mind inventing problems because my life was too empty and too routine and too devoid of anything interesting or meaningful. But Thursday evening, I made the mistake of looking. I was walking past the bedroom. The door was open. The full-length mirror on the back of it caught my eye. And in that mirror, in the reflection of my bedroom, I saw the figure again. Clearer this time, more defined. A child, maybe 7 or 8 years old, standing next to my bed, looking directly at the mirror, looking directly at me, or at my reflection, or at something I couldn't understand. I stopped walking, stood frozen in the hallway, staring at the mirror. The child was still there, not moving, just standing, wearing what looked like a blue jacket, dark pants, short hair. The face was unclear, blurry, like looking through frosted glass. But the shape was unmistakable. A child, in my bedroom, visible only in the mirror. I looked away from the mirror, looked directly into the bedroom. Nothing. The bed was empty. The room was empty. No child, no figure, no one. I looked back at the mirror. The child was gone. The reflection showed my empty bedroom exactly as it should be. Bed, dresser, laundry basket, window, nothing else. My heart was pounding. My hands were shaking. This wasn't fatigue. This wasn't eye strain. This was something else, something wrong. I walked into the bedroom, slowly, carefully, like approaching a wild animal. Checked every corner, under the bed, in the closet, behind the dresser. Nothing. No evidence that anyone had been there. No footprints on the carpet. No displaced air. No warmth. No sound. Nothing. I sat on the bed, tried to breathe, tried to think rationally. Hallucinations can be caused by stress, by isolation, by lack of social interaction and too much time alone. I'd been living in this apartment for 8 years, alone, working alone, eating alone, sleeping alone, no friends, no family, no contact with the outside world beyond what was absolutely necessary. Maybe my brain was compensating, creating company, inventing presence, manufacturing someone to fill the emptiness. That explanation made sense. It was logical, scientific, understandable. I held on to it, used it as an anchor. I wasn't seeing ghosts. I wasn't experiencing something supernatural. I was just lonely, isolated. My mind was playing tricks, creating stimulation. And if that was the case, the solution was simple. Get out more. Talk to people. Break the routine. Engage with reality in ways that would remind my brain that I was part of the world, not separate from it. I didn't do any of that. I couldn't. The thought of going outside, of talking to strangers, of pretending to be normal and fine and okay made me feel sick. I'd built this isolation carefully, deliberately. It protected me, kept me safe, kept me away from questions and connections, and the possibility of anyone knowing what I'd done, what I'd lost, what I'd destroyed through carelessness and stupidity, and one moment of distraction that changed everything. But I didn't think about that. I never thought about that. That was locked away, buried, gone. Part of a past I didn't access, couldn't access. The mind has ways of protecting itself, of sealing off memories that are too painful, too destructive, too impossible to bear. And I'd used those mechanisms, built walls around certain years, certain events, certain truths. And on the other side of those walls, I was fine. If functional. A person who lived and worked and existed without the weight of what came before. Friday morning, I avoided mirrors entirely, showered with my eyes closed, shaved by feel, got dressed facing the wall, worked all day without looking at my laptop screen when it went dark. Didn't walk past the bedroom door, didn't go near any reflective surface, and it worked. I didn't see the child, didn't see anything unusual. The day passed normally, quietly, safely. But Friday night, I had to use the bathroom, had to look, had to see. And when I did, the child was there, In the mirror, standing directly behind me, close enough to touch, if the child had been real, if the child had been physically present. But when I spun around, the bathroom was empty. Just me, just air, just the crushing silence of being completely alone. I looked back at the mirror. The child was still there, still standing behind where I was standing, still watching, and for the first time I could see the face clearly. A young face, soft features, large eyes, expression neutral, not threatening, not scary, just sad. Deeply, unbearably sad. The kind of sadness that lives in children who've been hurt, abandoned, forgotten. The kind of sadness that asks questions without words. Questions like why? Questions like how could you? Questions like don't you remember me? I felt something break inside my chest, something cold and sharp and painful. I didn't know this child. I'd never seen this face before, but something about it was familiar. Something about the eyes, the shape of the face, the way the child stood, small and still and waiting. Like children wait when they've been told to stay put, when they've been promised someone will come back, when they believe, despite everything, that they matter to someone. I reached back, behind me, where the reflection showed the child standing. My hand touched nothing, empty air, cold tile wall, no warmth, no body, no proof of existence. But in the mirror, the child was still there, still close, still watching me with those sad, accusing eyes. I backed out of the bathroom, turned off the light, closed the door, stood in the dark hallway breathing hard and fast and shallow. This wasn't a hallucination. Hallucinations don't persist, don't stay consistent, don't show the same figure in the same clothing with the same expression over multiple days. This was something else. Something I didn't have an explanation for. Something that violated everything I understood about how the world worked. I didn't sleep that night, lay in bed with my eyes open, staring at the ceiling, refusing to look at the bedroom door, at the mirror hanging on the back of it, refusing to see what might be standing there, watching me, waiting for me to acknowledge it, waiting for me to remember. But remember what? I didn't know this child, had no connection to any child. I'd never been a father, never been around children, never worked with them or taught them or been responsible for them in any way. This didn't make sense. None of it made sense. Saturday morning came, gray light through the window. I got up, walked to the bathroom without thinking. Muscle memory, routine. And when I turned on the light and looked in the mirror, the child was there. She's standing in the bathtub behind me, looking at me through the reflection. And this time the child's hand was raised, pressed against the shower curtain, like pressing against glass, like trying to reach through, like trying to be seen, to be acknowledged, to be real. I ran out of the bathroom, out of the apartment, down the stairs into the street. I walked for 3 hours, no destination, no plan, just movement, distance, escape. I passed people on sidewalks, families, couples, children playing in yards, normal people living normal lives, people who didn't see phantom children in mirrors, people who weren't haunted by reflections that shouldn't exist. When I finally came back to the apartment, it was afternoon. The light had changed, everything looked different, softer, less threatening. I told myself I was being irrational, paranoid. I needed to face this, understand it, prove to myself that it wasn't real, that it couldn't hurt me, that it was just my mind playing tricks and I was stronger than my own fear. I went to the bathroom, stood in front of the mirror, looked directly at my reflection. Nothing unusual, just me, tired, pale, older than I remembered being. When did I get so old? When did the lines around my eyes get so deep? When did my hair start thinning at the temples? Time had passed without me noticing. Years had slipped by while I lived in this small apartment, doing this small job, living this small life. I looked away from my own face, focused on the background of the reflection, the bathroom behind me, the hallway beyond. And there, just barely visible at the edge of the mirror's range, was the child, standing in the hallway. Now it's partially obscured by the doorframe, watching, always watching. I didn't turn around this time. I knew what I'd see. Nothing. Empty hallway, empty apartment, empty life. Instead, I kept watching the reflection, studying it, trying to understand. The child didn't move, didn't approach, just stood there, existing in the space between reality and reflection, present in one but not the other, visible only through glass, through mirrors, through the medium that shows us ourselves but also shows us things we don't want to see. I started talking, out loud, to the reflection, to the child. My voice sounded strange, rough. I hadn't spoken to another person in days, maybe weeks. "What do you want?" I asked. The reflection didn't respond, didn't move, just watched. "Why are you here?" Nothing. Silence. The child's expression didn't change, 'cause still sad, still accusing, still waiting. I tried again. "I don't know you. I don't know who you are. This doesn't make sense." And as I said it, something flickered, a feeling, a sense of wrongness, because that wasn't quite true. There was something familiar, something I couldn't place, something buried under years of careful forgetting, under layers of denial and distance and deliberate amnesia. I left the bathroom, went to the kitchen, poured a glass of water with shaking hands, drank it, poured another. My reflection in the kitchen window showed me clearly, and behind me in the reflection of the living area, the child was sitting on my couch, hands folded, legs dangling, too short to reach the floor, waiting patiently, like children do when they've been told to wait, when they trust that waiting will end, when they believe someone will eventually come. I closed my eyes, counted to 10, opened them. The reflection was unchanged. The child was still there, still waiting. I turned around. The couch was empty. I turned back to the window. The child was there. This was the pattern, the rule. Present in reflection, absent in reality. Existing only in the in-between space. The mirror world, the reversed world. The world that shows everything backward and sometimes shows things that shouldn't be there at all. The weekend passed in a haze of avoidance and accidental sightings. I'd catch glimpses in the darkened screen of my laptop, in the glass door of the microwave, in the side mirror of a parked car when I went to check the mail. The child was everywhere, following me, or maybe not following, maybe just existing, maybe always there. Always watching, and I was only now capable of seeing it, only now aware of what had always been present. Monday came. I tried to work, couldn't focus. The numbers on my screen blurred together. I kept seeing movement in my peripheral vision, kept glancing at the dark laptop screen between tasks, kept catching glimpses of the child standing behind my chair, watching over my shoulder, like a parent watching a child do homework, like a teacher observing a student, like someone invested in what I was doing, someone who cared, someone who wanted to be acknowledged. I called in sick Tuesday, sent an email. Vague excuse. Didn't matter. No one cared. No one checked on me. I spent the day in bed, facing the wall, away from the mirror on the door, but I could feel it, feel the presence, feel the weight of being watched, feel the eyes on my back, sad eyes, disappointed eyes, eyes that asked questions I couldn't answer because I didn't understand the questions. Wednesday, I covered all the mirrors, towels over the bathroom mirror, blanket over the bedroom door, avoided windows, kept my laptop closed, kept my phone face down, lived in a world without reflections, without surfaces that could show me what I didn't want to see. And it helped. The feeling of being watched diminished. The pressure in my chest eased. I could breathe again, think again, function again. But I couldn't live like that. Couldn't function long-term without mirrors, without screens, without the basic tools of modern life. Thursday morning, I removed the towel from the bathroom mirror, slowly, carefully, ready to cover it again if needed. The mirror showed my reflection. Just me. Nothing else. The bathroom was empty. The hallway was empty. Maybe it was over. Maybe whatever had been happening had passed. Maybe my mind had reset itself and I was okay again. I brushed my teeth. The reflection showed me brushing my teeth. Normal, ordinary, real. I finished, rinsed my mouth, looked up, and the child was there, sitting on the edge of the bathtub, So close I could have reached out and touched it if it had been real, if it had been physical, if it had been anything other than a reflection that shouldn't exist. But this time, the child looked different. The expression had changed, less sad, more urgent, more desperate. The eyes were wider. The mouth was open slightly, like trying to speak, like trying to communicate something important, something critical, something I needed to hear but couldn't because the child only existed in reflection, and reflections don't make sound. I watched the child's mouth move, trying to form words, trying to tell me something. I'm not good at reading lips, but I tried. Concentrated, focused on the shape of the words, the movement of the mouth. It looked like the child was saying the same thing over and over. 2 words, simple words, short words. It looked like, remember me, or maybe help me, or maybe find me. I couldn't be sure, couldn't confirm, could only watch as the child repeated these silent words with increasing urgency, increasing desperation, increasing fear. And then the child started crying, not making sound. Reflections don't make sound, but tears. Real tears running down the child's face, shoulders shaking, a body convulsing with sobs I couldn't hear. And I felt something break inside me. Some wall I'd built, some barrier I'd maintained, some protection I'd wrapped around memories I couldn't face. And behind that breaking wall, something started to surface. Something old, something buried, something true. A feeling, a memory of a feeling. Guilt. Deep, crushing, unbearable guilt. The kind that lives in your stomach like a stone. The kind that wakes you up at night. The kind that makes you avoid mirrors because you can't stand to see yourself. Can't stand to face what you've done, what you've caused, what you've destroyed through carelessness or cruelty or one single moment of not paying attention. I backed away from the mirror, pressed myself against the opposite wall, slid down until I was sitting on the cold tile floor, and the child was still visible in the mirror, still crying, still desperate, still trying to reach me through the impossible barrier of reflection and reality. And I knew, somewhere deep inside, somewhere I'd locked away and refused to access. I knew this child, had known this child, was connected to this child in a way I'd spent years trying to forget, trying to erase, trying to deny. But what connection? I searched my memory, went back through years, through the separation, through the marriage that fell apart, through the job I lost, through the apartment I moved to, through the isolation I built, through the routine I established, looking for a child, looking for a face, looking for a moment that would explain this, that would make sense of the reflection that haunted me. And there were gaps, holes in my memory, entire years that felt vague, blurry, like looking through frosted glass. Like someone had gone through my brain and deleted files, removed evidence, erased records, leaving only empty space where something important used to be, something critical, something that would explain everything if I could just remember it. I stood up, left the bathroom, went to the bedroom, started searching, through drawers, through closets, through boxes I hadn't opened in years, looking for evidence, looking for proof, looking for something that would confirm or deny, that would tell me if this child was real or imagined, if this connection was genuine or invented by a lonely mind desperate for meaning. I found nothing, no photos, no documents, no records. My life seemed to begin 8 years ago when I moved into this apartment. Everything before that was vague, undefined. Like a story someone told me once, but I'd forgotten the details. I knew I'd been married. I knew there'd been a separation. I knew I'd worked somewhere else and lived somewhere else and been someone else. But the specifics were missing. The faces were blurred. The timeline was unclear. In the bedroom mirror, the child was standing by the dresser, watching me search, watching me struggle. And the expression was different again. No longer urgent, no longer crying, just sad again. Deeply sad. The sadness of someone who's been forgotten, erased, left behind. The sadness of knowing you mattered to someone once and now you don't even exist in their memory. I sat on the bed, looked at the child in the mirror, We stared at each other across the impossible divide, real and reflected, present and absent, guilty and accusing. And I started to remember, not everything, not clearly, but fragments, pieces, moments, a car, driving, distracted, looking at my phone, just for a second, just a glance, just checking a message, just one moment of not paying attention, and then a sound, a terrible sound, a thud, a scream, brakes, silence, getting out of the car, looking, seeing, a small body, blue jacket, dark pants, short hair, not moving, not breathing, not okay, panic, fear, running, driving away, leaving, fleeing, not calling for help, not staying, not doing anything except saving myself, protecting myself, choosing myself over a child I'd hit with my car because I wasn't paying attention, because I was distracted, because I was careless, because I was more concerned with a text message than with the road, than with the human being crossing that road, than with a child who trusted that drivers were paying attention and would stop if someone was in the way. But I didn't stop, not in time. And then I didn't stay, didn't help, didn't call, didn't do any of the things a decent person would do. I ran, I hid, I buried it. Buried the memory, buried the guilt, buried the child. Not literally, the child was buried by others, by family I never met, by people who loved this child and mourned this child and wondered what kind of monster would hit a child and drive away, would leave a child dying on the pavement, would prioritize their own freedom over a child's life. I was that monster. I am that monster. The memory flooded back with horrible clarity. Details I'd suppressed, the child's face as I drove past, the recognition in those eyes. Surely the understanding that help was driving away instead of stopping. The betrayal, the abandonment, the moment of realizing that adults don't always help, don't always protect. Sometimes they just leave you alone and broken and dying because saving you might cost them something they're not willing to pay. I doubled over, pressed my face into my hands, couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't exist with this knowledge, this truth, this reality of what I'd done, of who I was, of why I'd isolated myself and built this small, empty life. Not because I was introverted or tired of people, but because I deserved isolation, deserved emptiness, deserved to live alone and forgotten and haunted by the child I'd killed and abandoned. When I looked up, the bedroom mirror showed something different. Not the present, not my bedroom as it existed now, but a different place, a different time, a road, nighttime, streetlights. And in the middle of that road, lying still, a small body in a blue jacket. And standing over that body looking down was me, younger me, 8 years younger, frozen, shocked, terrified. And then, in the reflection, I watched myself get back in my car, watched myself drive away, watched myself leave that child alone, dying, abandoned. The mirror was showing me the past, the truth I'd buried, the moment that defined everything that came after, the moment that ended one life and destroyed another. The child's life ended on that road. My life ended there too. The person I'd been before couldn't survive what I'd done. So I killed him, buried him along with the memory, and became this empty, isolated, half-alive thing that existed only to work and eat and sleep and avoid mirrors, because mirrors show the truth, and the truth was unbearable. I looked away from the mirror, at the real room, the present room, the room that existed now, not 8 years ago, and when I looked back at the mirror, it was showing the present again. But the child was still there, standing closer now, right next to the bed, close enough to touch if reflections could be touched, and the child's hand was extended, reaching toward me, not in anger, not in accusation, in invitation, in request, in one final question. The child wanted me to remember, to acknowledge, to carry the weight I'd tried to put down, to stop pretending, stop hiding, stop living this half-life in this small apartment with this meaningless job and this empty existence. The child wanted me to remember what I'd done, who I'd hurt, what I'd destroyed, and to finally, after 8 years of running, stop running. I reached out, toward the mirror, toward the reflection, toward the child I'd killed and then killed again, by forgetting, by erasing, by choosing my comfort over their memory. My hand pressed against the glass, cold, solid, impenetrable. In the reflection, my hand and the child's hand were almost touching, almost connecting, almost bridging the gap between real and reflected, between living and dead, between guilty and victim. And then the child smiled, for the first time, a small, sad smile, the kind of smile that means goodbye, the kind of smile that means I understand, the kind of smile that means you can't hide anymore, and maybe that's for the best. Maybe carrying this is what you're supposed to do. Maybe remembering is the punishment and the penance, and the only way to honor a life that ended because of your carelessness. The child stepped backward, away from my hand, away from the mirror, fading into the background of the reflection, growing dimmer, smaller, more distant, and I understood. This was the last time. The child had done what it came to do, had made me remember, had made me see, had forced me to acknowledge the truth I'd spent 8 years denying. And now the haunting was over, not because I was forgiven, but because I finally remembered, finally carried the weight I was supposed to carry, finally stopped pretending I was innocent. The child disappeared. The mirror showed only my reflection, only the present, only the real. I sat on the bed, hands still pressed against the glass, staring at myself, seeing myself clearly for the first time in 8 years, seeing the monster, the coward, the person who killed a child and drove away, who built a new life on top of buried memories, who isolated himself not from strength but from shame, from knowledge that he didn't deserve connection, didn't deserve love, didn't deserve anything except this small, empty existence. I lowered my hand. The mirror remained unchanged. Just me, just my bedroom, just reality as it existed now, without the overlay of past and guilt and reflection. The child was gone, but the memory remained, would always remain, would wake me up at night, would follow me through my days, would make every mirror a reminder, every reflection a confession, every glimpse of my own face a confrontation with what I'd done. I don't know if I'll turn myself in. I don't know if there's still time, still evidence, still a case to prosecute after 8 years. Don't know if justice is possible or if I've already escaped it through time and distance and the statute of limitations. But I know I'll never escape the memory now, never bury it again, never pretend it didn't happen. The child made sure of that. Made me remember, made me see, made me carry the weight I tried to put down. And maybe that's the real haunting, not the reflection in the mirror, but the memory in the mind, the knowledge that lives inside you and shapes everything you do and makes you into someone who can't bear to see themselves clearly, because seeing yourself means seeing what you've done, what you've destroyed, what you can never fix or undo or make right. The mirrors in my apartment show only me now. No child, no phantom, no reflection that shouldn't exist. But I see the child anyway, in my mind, in my memory, in the weight that settles on my chest every time I look in the mirror and see not just my face, but the face of the person who killed a child and drove away, who chose himself over a dying child, who built a life on buried guilt and enforced forgetting. That person is me. I am that person, and I'll carry that knowledge until I die. Not as punishment. Punishment would imply I've suffered enough, paid enough, balanced some cosmic scale, but there is no balance. No equation where my suffering equals the child's lost life. No amount of guilt or memory or self-imposed isolation that brings that child back. That gives them the years they should have had, the life they deserved. The future I took from them with one moment of carelessness and a lifetime of cowardice. The child only appeared in the mirror, but the child is everywhere now, in every reflective surface, in every quiet moment, in every breath I take that the child doesn't, in every day I live that the child never got to have, in the weight of being alive when someone else is dead because of me, because of my choice, because of my cowardice. That's the story. That's what happened. That's why a child appeared in my mirror. Not a ghost, not a supernatural entity, Just a memory I'd buried so deep it took 8 years to surface. Just guilt manifesting in the only way it could. Just the truth forcing its way back into a mind that had tried desperately to forget it. I still live in this apartment, still do this job, still follow this routine. But everything is different now. Everything is heavier. Every mirror is a reminder. Every reflection is a confession. And I carry it. I carry all of it. Because that's what I deserve. That's what I owe. That's the least I can do for a child I killed and tried to forget. The haunting is over. The memory remains. And I will never, ever forget again. If you think you can hide from what you've done, watch the next video and see what happens when the past refuses to stay buried.